Welcome to In the Light, and I have with me a wonderful author today, Bridget Finklaire, who, like me, has also worked as a hypnotherapist. Welcome, Bridget.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for inviting me on. It's lovely to be here.
So I'm right in the middle of reading your book, Red Dress, and it's interesting because you are the first author I've had on this podcast that's written a novel, because all the other books have been factual, and so yours is unique here. But the reason I wanted to have it on is because it is all about spirituality, isn't it?
Yes, it is. At the core of it, it absolutely is. And I think when it was first launched, it's actually just launched on Friday, and we had some people reviewing it before that. And what I noticed, and the publisher also noticed from that, is if anybody had even a little bit of their toe dipped in anything alternative or spiritual, they absolutely loved the book. But if they were completely closed to anything spiritual alternative, they would go, "Oh, I can't be doing with this book," because they'd say, "Oh, I loved the cover and I thought it was going to be about, whatever it was going to be about." Obviously, it's called Red Dress and there's quite a funky cover, and the blurb is about this stressed out woman who's trying to get her work-life balance, and there is an actual story in there. You could take all of the spiritual stuff out and there's still a decent novel and read in there. And I think some of those people who are completely closed to anything alternative or spiritual or mind body spirit based didn't want to wade through, in their eyes, the spiritual bits, whereas other people have absolutely lapped it up and enjoyed it. So very interesting. I'd kind of aimed to get some spiritual pearls of wisdom into a fun and entertaining way. But I had hoped that it would maybe go into a mainstream audience. But actually, at the end of the day, you're quite right, it is spiritual.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the cover and it says red dress, and you're thinking Sex in the City, aren't you? And but that is the whole point, because that's the journey of the main character, isn't it? She's having to weigh up, as many people do, when they tick all the boxes and do everything that they've been told that they must do in order to live a supposedly good life. And they wake up one day and they're experiencing an existential crisis because they feel empty and they feel dead. And you've worked as a therapist. I'm a therapist myself. This is the stuff of therapy. People who come, they may come with specific problems, but it's essentially they're experiencing an existential crisis. And that's why it's a compelling story, because it's the story of so many people.
Yes, I think, Anna, a lot of people who have read the book have said that they find it very relatable. They relate to aspects of her. And I think that's probably another reason why some of those people who do not have any kind of open mind find it challenging to read, because it's reflecting something back to them and they don't want to go there. As we know, there's resistance sometimes. But yes, I think you're absolutely right. And it's that, I think it's Stephen Covey who said the ladder's against the wrong wall. So people have climbed that ladder of success, of everything that was expected of them, of what society expects, what their peer group expects, what their parents expect. They've taken that journey and then they've got there and it's a hollow victory. I think it feeds very much into the heroine's journey, particularly because it really is a book. I mean, men have enjoyed reading this book, but it is aimed largely at women. And I think a lot of women have found that they can find that kind of existential crisis because it's just too much. We've been given equality, which is we've always been equal, but we're not the same. And there's a difference between equality and the same. If you think about the yin and the yang, we should be complementary to the masculine. We're just as powerful, if not more powerful, because we carry life. But we've kind of been, the way society's worked and the way that women's lib has worked and equality has worked, is that we've gone into the man's world. So I think a lot of women have gone into that man's world to set out to be successful in, and women have broken the glass ceiling everywhere and have become hugely successful. So they get there and they're successful, but they're still running a home and they're still looking after the children, and they become exhausted, and they've lost touch with the feminine side, which I would say is the creative and the intuitive. And I think women like to talk and to be in groups and to support each other. And all of a sudden they've gone into this very masculine world, which is about being very focused and goal oriented, and let's do this, and we've got to do. And they can leave a feeling of aridity, of dryness, of what's life about, of feeling empty. And that's exactly where we find Katie at the beginning of Red Dress.
And this is the thing, isn't it? Is that women have been told, I feel very strongly about this, that what has happened is, in the so-called cause to create equality, the feminine has actually been devalued and devalued more and more and more, because the only way that women can be valued is by throwing away everything that makes them feminine, and becoming aggressive and all of those things. Now, we're not talking, and we need to actually qualify this, because what we're talking about is feminine energy and masculine energy, and we, all of us, hold both of those energies within us. However, there are hormones involved and they play a part. And so it's not to say that it's wrong for women to be out in a masculine world. It's not. It's just when the other side is devalued.
Absolutely.
And you know, you working as a therapist, I working as a therapist, we see this day in and day out. Women who come in, and in fact, more and more, I'm seeing young women who actually really want to have a family, feeling like there's something wrong with them for wanting to have a family, and for wanting to prioritize family. This is because that's been devalued. And equally, you know, we see men also suffering because they're being told they're not feminine enough, and or that it's wrong to be men, it's wrong to be masculine. So there's huge confusion out there as regards this, and people are suffering as a result. And I think this is part of Katie's journey, is discovering that, yeah, there's more to life than ticking the boxes. And society's expectations, you know what, they can be a bit screwed up because actually we're all a bit confused.
Totally agree with you. I think there is that urgency then to reconnect with the feminine, but we've forgotten. And I'll absolutely agree with you that we're talking about masculine and feminine energy, and that we both have both, and we need to get them in balance. And I think that the more that women go into the masculine energy, it puts men on a back foot into their feminine energy. They feel uncomfortable. They're not standing in their masculine. Then it all becomes kind of politically correct. And then it's kind of, we're double checking ourselves to see that we're doing the right thing. And it's when that is devalued. And I think now we're seeing a resurgence and a rise of the divine feminine, which is about caring. And we can see that with even environmental movement and ecology, where people are saying, hang on, we need to look at Mother Earth, the Great Mother. I find it quite interesting because I'm living in Cape Town, and where they call it the Mother City, in Mama Africa, on Mother Earth. So it's like this triple feminine energy here. But I do think that there are these wonderful qualities of the feminine that have been disregarded and diminished over time, and it feels as though it's coming back now. The fact that people are going for therapy and wanting to resolve and heal this is showing that there is this wave of compassion and, understanding that we're connected. There's the wisdom that comes with the divine feminine, the nurturing, the community, the forgiveness, all of these, gentleness, kindness, all of those qualities are really, really badly needed in the world right now. And I think people are waking up to that, and it's coming back, thank goodness, to get the balance back. And it is always a balance. It's not about diminishing the masculine. We need both. The masculine is about taking action, protecting. We need that as well, but we need both. And we're living in a society where the scales have got out of balance.
Yes, it seems to me that nobody is wearing clothes that fits them.
Yes.
Everybody walking around with clothes that are either too tight or too large, or it just, it's that feeling of being, not quite being in the right, in sync. It's being out of sync somehow, and then the confusion that comes from it. So it's wonderful that we are talking about it, and it's when we get that balance right, and when both energies are equally valued, that we get the balance that we need. And to do that, we need to value both energies within ourselves, and then to value them in others as well. So I think that's a lovely way to look at it. And of course, that's Katie's journey. It's part of her journey, isn't it? This self-discovery and being able to really reconnect. And there's humor in the book too. I have to, without wishing to give too much away, because I do want people to go out and read the book for themselves. But it makes me laugh where she's going through this phase where she's finding a way of realigning her energy, and she has these great cravings for color, and so she ends up with these outfits that are not necessarily harmonious colors together. It just makes me laugh, but she has to do it. So she goes from being this, very style conscious individual to throwing colors that she would never have dreamt of in a million years together. That did tickle me.
I know that I had a lot of fun writing those. And in fact, I did a launch event on Friday evening, and that was one of the passages that I read, was where she ends up wearing, I will give it away and you have to read the passage to find out all about it. Do get the book. But she ends up wearing lime green and magenta, which makes her
That's
look
the
like
one I was thinking of.
And there's lots of fun. There are funny bits. I mean, the book has got a lot of funny bits in it. Red Dress has got a lot of sad bits in it as well, actually, and it's self-deprecating in a way, because she's on that, as you said, she's just dipping her toes into this journey of awakening, and she's not sure, should she go or shouldn't she? She's sitting on the fence a little bit, and she's still got the critical voice in her head, so she's self-criticizing in a way. So we see both sides of the fence, particularly with her friend Shanti, who's very, very spiritual, and then Katie, who's kind of thinks that Shanti's talking gibberish half the time, and then realizes actually Shanti's right. So yeah, and then there's also some really serious bits in there, and that's what I wanted to do, is to make it very light-hearted and easy to read so that you can giggle. Because I think for anybody on this kind of path of awakening or consciousness, spirituality, mind, body, spirit, there are fabulous, fabulous books. You started off by saying most of the people that you would interview are authors that have written non-fiction. And that's what I originally thought I was going to end up writing, and I was guided intuitively to write a fiction, rather, to write a novel. And part of that is, I think that when we're on this journey, we come across these fabulous books and we read them avidly. I don't know about you, I'm sure you do, and I'm sure other people listening do as well. But then you lose sight of reading novels. And it used to be for me that I would only ever read a novel if I was on holiday somewhere. And even then, I'd only read the novel after I'd finished whatever other, spiritual book or even, therapy book that I needed to plow through. Then I would, okay, I'm allowing myself now to read the novel. And it would be so lovely to get lost in a novel. So I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if you could get lost in a novel and have fun and enjoy it and be learning at the same time? So that was kind of the reason for writing Red Dress.
Well, I think it was very successful. And just before we started recording this conversation, I joked with you that I didn't know it was possible to put in so many spiritual lessons into one book. But there it is. They're all there. And so I'm going to put a link to the novel with the notes to this interview. And it is Red Dress. If people wanted to get in touch with you, Bridget, how could they do that?
Best way to get in touch with me is to go to my website, bridgetfinklaire.com. It's an unusual name, Bridget, and Finklaire, F for Freddie, Inklaire. So bridgetfinklaire.com is my website, and that's got links to all my social media. You can also find me on social media. Facebook, I've got my personal page, but there's also the Author and Spiritual Teacher page that you can like, and there's information on there. Sign up for my newsletter on my website as well. And also on the website, there are links to where you can buy Red Dress. And there's the whole page about Red Dress, and there's also a page about the work that I do, which is called the Bone Circle. Yeah, and news and views, and a blog which I haven't written for about 5 years because I've been busy writing books. And I'm actually in the process of writing. Red Dress is the first in a trilogy, so there's 2 more books, and the second one I'm about a third of the way through, and there's actually a whole hypnosis scene in there where she goes back to a past life, which I think you'll absolutely love when you get to read that second book.
So
Yeah.
I look forward to that, and when it's finished, I expect to have you back here.
I would love to come back here, Anna. It's been absolutely wonderful talking to you.
So thank you very much, Bridget, for joining us today, and I will put all the details in the description box so that you can contact Bridget, and also so that you can contact me, and you can find out more about her work and my work as well. Thank you once again for joining us today, and until next time, goodbye.